Hi y'all, I'm Catherine and I love to get on here and talk about my Seint makeup. I am a Seint makeup enthusiast. I love this stuff. I've been with the artist program for 2.5 years now, been using the makeup just a tad longer than that. Today's video is just, look, simple, step by step. Maybe you found this video, you're wanting some guidance, maybe you're researching the makeup. However you found this video, thanks if you're watching it. I just love to share, troubleshoot, just do a simple makeup look. I don't get super made up. Sometimes it looks like, I don't want to say it looks like I have no makeup on, but that is kind of the look that I like. I used to layer on so much makeup to make it look like I didn't have makeup on. It makes no sense. We're gonna get started. I'm gonna use the Seint Stay Spray as my primer. Let's just get going. And let's see, minute 35 seconds, and I've started with my spray, so that's good. And I will just, no, I don't like to let it dry. I don't know what I was about to say, but I do like to go, I like to go in with my makeup as it's still a little tacky. We're gonna get started with contour. I know my brush is dirty. I used to always say I will never get online with a dirty brush, but you know what? I do. It's my brush. If I want to get acne from my makeup covered brush, then I will, but I don't recommend it. I'm gonna start at the top of my ear and go down at a slant. I'm going down to about in between my nose and my mouth. I have more to cover on this side of my face. I like to give my just 3D foundation. That's what the official name of this is called, is the Seint 3D foundation. Anyway, I like to let this makeup, I like to give it a chance to cover my imperfections, things I like to cover. At the end, that's when I go in and add coverage. I just like to do the steps and see what gets covered by the makeup itself. That's just, some people will color correct, and there's all these tricks. You can search YouTube for color correction on here and so much will pop up, but I just don't want to try and pretend like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to color correction. I know what works for me, but honestly, I just mostly use this with no color correction, really. So if I ever, I'm sure I'll share what I do for me eventually. Now, when I contour, and I say this about in every video, I don't contour right here because you can tell I'm already indenting, which, you know, happens as we are, you know, on this earth longer. So I do not contour there because contour helps recede. I don't want it to recede more. And then jaw, I've started I am getting jowls here. And so I'll start there and just go forward. I don't go all the way up. That's just personal preference. I am going to not contour my nose yet. I do want to mention the contours differ. It's just how the formula is. This makeup is not super creamy. It's considered a cream by makeup standards, but it's a certain consistency so that it doesn't all blend together. It somewhat will stay where you have it. If you are picking up enough product to where you can't fluff your bristles, you definitely have too much on your brush. For me, even this is borderline, but see how my bristles still are fluffy? You want to still be able to do that. Just keep that in mind. Using too much product is common when you first start using this, when you first start using Seint. Okay, so I don't want to confuse anybody, but I am going to be going on in with 2 shades to be my main shade. I'm just in between right now. We have some new shades about to come out, and I think one of them might be perfect for me. I'm so excited. But really, I could use either one of these on their own, and it will work out fine. But I just like my makeup best when I do this. And of course, I already have all the shades, so why not? But if I was color matching you, which by the way, if you've never been color matched, if you'd like to be color matched, if you don't already have a Seint artist, I would love to help you out. But I don't usually recommend 2 main shades, which that's what I'm doing. Main shade, contour, main shade. I probably wouldn't recommend 2 main shades unless I just thought it was so necessary, but yeah, I don't want anybody to think that it's more confusing than it is. There is a learning curve, I will say, with this makeup. It just ends up being so worth it because it's just so pretty. But I love to troubleshoot and help my customers. So, and at this point, there's a lot of us online that are like that you can find out a lot of troubleshooting tips just here on YouTube. You may have noticed, if you've watched Seint videos before, I put my main shade everywhere. That's just what I like to do. I even go up under my eyes. I feel my main shade covers better than my brightening shade. I have to use too much of my brightening shade for it to have coverage. Here's my brightener, and it is not bright. I don't love a super bright brightener, but you can tell it's a little lighter here, and I just go here. And then, you know what? No, not putting any on my nose. My nose, I don't love the top of it. I don't love to put a brightener because it already catches the light because I have a larger nose. And so I just don't feel like I need it, but I will take my brightener on the side of my nose. And remember how I didn't contour my nose earlier? It's because I wanted more coverage on my nose. So let's see, how many times have I said nose? So I'm gonna stamp it now that I've got my main shade on there. And we'll see how this goes. You're supposed to really focus it on the top of your bridge, not the side. I think I kind of went more on the side. I always say, don't come to me for nose contouring tips because I'm still learning and some days I don't do it at all. But for the sake of videos, I like to try, you know? Why not? I can't remember if I put anything on my eyelids. We're gonna do my eyelids real quick and I'll just use one of these main shades. You could use your brightener for this as well, but you may have noticed I didn't put brightener out here because I don't like to highlight my crow's feet. So you may notice lots of different Seint artists do their makeup different, and you will learn something from everybody, and you'll do what's best for your skin. You'll do what works best for you and your routine. Time wise, I could sit and do my makeup if I had the time. I don't mind taking my time to do it. I love doing my makeup. It is just so peaceful to me, and just, it's like my me time. You know how some people like to exercise? I like to do my makeup. Okay, I'm gonna just tap this out. And I didn't mention earlier, but you may have noticed when I was putting my main shade on, I was tapping. I wasn't doing all this because I like to go around my contour because, you know, I don't want it to move. And I didn't blend my cheek contour out. I like to leave my cheek contour how it is. Let me just tap this little bit of brightener I put on. Again, I put just that tiny bit on top of where I had my main shade. I leave my cheek contour alone and kind of let my body heat do some of the blending. And then also, now I'm gonna go in with this side of the Blush+Bronzer Brush. Did I even say this was the detail brush that I was using? My contour I'm using today, I'm gonna try and start listing the shades I use because I do get a couple questions about that. I'm using Olive Contour, which is a very popular, very subtle. I feel like olive works for a lot of people. I'm gonna go in with my Bella Bronzer. I love Bella Bronzer. Bella Bronzer is the most popular bronzer, and I definitely recommend it to the majority of people I color match to. Now I'm gonna take my bronzer on this end of the Blush+Bronzer brush and flick up, and I'm gonna start assisting the blending of the contour. I'm gonna help it, and I don't want to lose the structure. I don't want to lose the contour I laid down, but this is just going to warm up that contour, and whatever's left on my brush I'm just going to also put on my forehead. I also don't put brightener there. I just use my main shade because I have a lot of lines. Haven't done Botox yet. I'm sure I will eventually, but I just haven't yet. So I don't like to highlight the lines on my forehead either. I'm gonna take a little more and be sure I get that contour blended down. And then I will put just a little bit on my ears. And I'll flip over to the fluffy side and just fluff this out a little bit. I've been looking at my eyes while I was doing this, and I think I'm gonna put a little more coverage right here. I don't like to put too much right under because that's where our lines are. So I try to be really light-handed. Always try to remember that you're seeing things on yourself that most people aren't seeing. I'm up really close to my face. Most people that I see throughout the day in real life, in person, aren't going to be talking to me so close. So I try to keep that in mind. I know I said I don't really do color correction, but one thing I do is I take Saint Tropez Frenchie. The shade of the season Melody works like this. For me, at least, if you're around my skin tone, anything that's orangey, peachy, pinky. I'm going to take Saint Tropez, and I call this my base blush. I just made up that term. It's just how I call it because I will put this down. It's too light, in my opinion, for me. I mean, it's pretty, but when I am getting towards the summer, it's just too light to use it on its own. But I love how it just helps. Like, I have age spot, I have a birthmark, I have more sun damage on this side, so it's easier for me to show, but it just helps. It doesn't get rid of it completely. That's a birthmark that I just leave. I just, you know, have decided to appreciate it and love it. But this just helps kind of diffuse. This is Sandstone. Just gonna dab in here. And we're gonna start at the back, and I'm just gonna go down. And I'm gonna be careful to try not to remove that Saint Tropez. I don't do a ton of blush. Sometimes I'll get brave and like have a good poppy pink, you know, but my favorite is just neutrals. And I try not to have this line like that, so that's where this fluffy end will come in handy to just fluff out those edges. You feel like you want to add a little more, I keep most of the pigment towards the back. That's kind of how that Saint Tropez also works well with the blush, because you can kind of up at the apple of the cheek, you have a lighter color, and I just think that's flattering. I know I'm getting a little long-winded here. I'm gonna take my vanilla dust that is just about gone, and I am going to set that main highlight. You want to do this if you put your highlight shades on your lids. You might need to set it with a powder since that skin moves so much, so it won't crease. And I'm just gonna go in with this color called Sedona, and I'm just pretty much gonna put it all over my lid. I do have hooded eyes. See, when I relax, like, this is how I am, my hood comes down, so I'll try to relax my eye. It's hard because when I'm doing my eye makeup, I tend to go like this. That is not realistic. I try to remember that. And then I have this shimmer here called As You Wish, and it's a very subtle shimmer and very soft. I think it's really pretty for more mature lids because it's not so sparkly, which can enhance your fine lines. I'm gonna take the small end of the eyeshadow brush, and we're gonna go on my lower lash line. This will also, if you deal with mascara smudging, putting eyeshadow on your lower lash can help with that. All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna put some mascara on, so hold on. I have been really liking the Milani Highly Rated. It's a tubing mascara, and some say it's a dupe for the Thrive tubing mascara. You can take your highlight shade, whatever one you're using. If you're using a brightener, use a brightener. Go up and clean up that edge, and it'll also lift your eye. And I know my contour, I need to add contour here actually. We'll get to that in a second. I'm gonna do my lips. I'm just gonna take the little end of my detail brush and just very sloppily line my lips. I'm basically just contouring my lips. Okay, so I know it looks a little weird right now. I'm gonna go in with Sandstone first. It's a satin, which can be slightly, you know, like a matte lipstick. It's a little more drying. So I take this gloss. This is a one of our shades of the season. It's called August. Isn't that pretty? And I mean, you can put this on your cheeks too if you'd like to. This is where I know I still haven't touched my nose. I'm gonna like look at the whole situation, kind of stand back, definitely needing to blend out the highlight on my nose. And I did not put a brightener on my nose, y'all. Like that is just my main shade on my nose. So that's why I don't put a brightener there. You'll just kind of, you get to know your face doing this. I feel like I need to blend that out a little bit, but I don't want to blend it out too much. So I'm just gently gonna take this. And if you didn't have, and I'm just barely touching it and I'm just sweeping up. And if you feel like you went down a little too low, you can take your brightener, you take your main shade, whatever you want. Some people like to use their brightener because it gives like more of a dramatic effect. But like I said earlier, I don't really like that on myself. So I'll just clean up this edge here where maybe I went in a little too far and just use this like a little magic eraser. Clean that up. Ta-da! And we'll do this on the other side. And you just clean that up. With my nose contour, I don't want to blend it out too much. I get tempted to because, you know, it's nose contour, it's newer. I try to, when I'm tapping it, I go inwards instead of like dragging it outwards. Look, there's only so much I can do with my nose, you know? The dampened sponge that we put the primer on at the beginning, I'm gonna press this in. Again, that primer was actually the Saint Stay spray, which some people use as a setting spray. I like to use it as a primer. So I am just really gonna press and make sure all of my excess product is coming off. Whatever product needs to be on my face is being pressed in. I want to have a skin-like finish, and this helps so much. I will take the sponge, and this is the only color that I actually kind of swipe up with my illuminator, and I only put my cream illuminator. This is Angel, which is very pretty. So I will just press that on because I literally don't have to blend it. I can just press it on. Some people put it down their nose, some people put it above their lip. I just like to leave it as is. Unlike a lot of, you know, liquid foundations, this makeup doesn't set. So I prefer to set it. Some people don't. Some people will just let it be and love it, but I like to set it, and I'll show you how I do that. I will take a setting spray. This is the e.l.f. Stay All Night. I really like this. I feel like it's not too hydrating and it's also not matte, so I just really like it, and I just gently tap because I've already removed the excess, and I'm just gently tapping to set. This is $10. I just get mine at Walmart, and then I might gently just go over my contour area. When I was pressing the sponge, I stay away from my cheek area because I don't want to remove my blush. So we are gonna go in with powder now. And I don't powder everywhere. I will show you exactly where I do. I go right here because I do not want my pores to be exaggerated. And that's what this vanilla dust is good for, not exaggerating and making places on your face look dry. It's a very finely milled. So I will just do my chin right here. I don't want to look sweaty right here. And then for sure my nose. Just like that. I'll even do the sides of my nose. And this is a translucent. I am a face toucher, so I sometimes will just do a little right here. Okay, so I didn't put any under my eyes. If anything, I will go in right here and only set that divot to make sure it's not catching the light. Okay, so I think I've gotten to everything. Ooh, did you see my damaged hair flying around? This is the look. And if you want to add blush, go in and add more blush. So I'm gonna take more of that Sandstone and I'll just add a little more. Why not? All right, so that's it. If you have any questions whatsoever, just comment down below. I will try to get back to you as soon as I see it. I will have links if you need a Seint artist. I would love to help you. I know I'm talking really quiet because I have a 14-year-old son sleeping very close. Our house is like this big. I will list the colors I used. I'll try to remember to put that up in the description if you're curious. So y'all have a great day. I will see y'all again soon. Bye y'all.